Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on Episode 1 of The Great Jahy Will Not Be Defeated. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So, just as a premise, I don't really know what this show is about beyond like a couple memes here and there, but from what I can gather, it really does seem like, despite how much she protests, the Great Jahy has been defeated. You know, if you have to like bathe in this manner in a crappy apartment, like, you're not exactly doing well. And considering how she was lauded and had her own little throne here, and she was much greater in stature, you know, I think it's safe to say she's just not doing well. And, you know, it happens from time to time. Like, sometimes you're just not doing well. But the thing that separates the strong from the weak is, you know, you just have to pick yourself back up and get back to work again. And I'm guessing, like, the big underlying question here is, can Jahy do that, and will she be successful? Although that said, this is seeming like a fair bit more fantastical than I was given to understand. You know, maybe this is just the prologue, and that stuff all sort of just falls by the wayside, but, you know, it strikes me that Jahy kind of deserves it if, you know, you're dealing with an intruder and you just sort of, like, approach calmly and, you know, don't really react, like... Man, it really seems to me that Jahy does kind of deserve to lose. You know, it's never a good thing when a magical girl destroys your big red shiny rock. Like, that's how you know it's over. Wow, okay, you know, it's more over than I initially thought if that rock was holding the entire Dark Realm together. Like, wow. I think Jahy kind of deserves to live in poverty for a little while. Like, man, imagine fumbling so hard that your entire world is destroyed. So I guess, man, that's a funny shirt. Restore the Dark Realm. Like, you have to wear your one overarching goal on your shirt at all times. Oh boy, that would be like if I wore a shirt that said collect paycheck. Man. So she's talking about, like, despicable treatment as if being clumsy isn't her own fault. Wow. You know, this is really bad when you have to pick between salt and mayonnaise as a condiment. Like, I like mayonnaise as far as condiments go, but, boy, really isn't a good place to be when mayonnaise is the highlight of your day. So, at least everything is not entirely lost. She's able to transform back briefly, it seems like. It's also very unfortunate that doing her worst is working as a waitress. Like, man, if things weren't over before, they certainly are now. Like, she certainly doesn't have the temperament to be a good waitress, it seems like, so I can only imagine she's gonna do something horrible, like throw something at a customer, or, otherwise fail to ingratiate herself. Now that's something. She's mentioning that she's wasting her power to do this, which seems to me that little mana crystal she has, like, that's a finite resource, and, if it is truly the only one she has, and, like, that's her only way to transform, like, it seems like, as over as things are now, they're on the verge of being more over than previously thought possible. So it really does seem like this is just some sort of, like, elaborate karmic scheme, where Jahy is now forced to be a waitress when she had servants in the previous world. That's gotta be especially galling to someone who used to be the center of attention, I guess. Now, it really seems like she shouldn't try and pick a fight with her boss, especially because her boss seems, pretty darn good-natured. Like, I can understand how this would rankle, but, like, even from this limited interaction, there are many bosses who are far worse. Ah, man. It's over when your boss asks you to smile and you have to do it on command. It's kind of interesting that the boss is treating her so familiarly, considering that, it's not like Jahy's a kid. Regardless of what outside appearances might suggest sometimes. I don't know, that's, it's a little peculiar, I guess. So I guess the question is, something is gonna have to go wrong at some point, right? Like, oh, okay. I spoke too soon, I guess. A drunken patron. He's gonna suggest something, I wager. Ooh. Yeah, this is unfortunate. This is one of the reasons why I didn't like working in a restaurant, because, like, there's food everywhere, and, you never have time to eat when you're working, so it's a real pain, And I guess, like, as annoying as it was for me, it's probably worse for Jahy. And I guess, if the situation wasn't already bad enough, boy howdy. Like, I mean, I take it she keeps this form a secret, by and large. I feel like the boss probably wouldn't, like, freak out like this. Like, she might fire Jahy, I suppose, because he can't have a kid working in a bar. However... okay, we're just getting to it. Like, no subterfuge, no letting her stew in her anxiety over this. Like, it's just over immediately. Now, I feel like this should be a lesson for Jahy, that, like, she can't see things from other people's points of view, and that, like, her boss is clearly a good-natured person and therefore would, fawn over her. But she's just saying, like, look, I'm gonna spread misfortune and calamity, and I'm gonna burn stuff in hellfire. Ooh. It's like, oh boy, you finally learned how to use the stove. Look at you. Oh man, I can already tell being Jahy is just pure suffering. Man. Okay, so, like, the boss is sympathizing with her in every regard. Like, what did Jahy do to luck out like this? Ooh. Man, it's never a good thing when you're using a fork as a weapon. Like, you know, something tells me that when you compare the stature of these two, the fork is not going to be the deciding factor. Man, utterly defeated by a hug. And not just a hug, but like a sympathetic hug too. Wow, you know, like, the boss is treating Jahy with kindness. Surely she's going to turn over a new leaf, right? Wow. You know, like, not only is she, like, comforted, like, hey, you know, it's payday too, here's your money. Like, I feel like Karma's gonna have to, like, wrap around and slap Jahy across the face. Wow. So she got a raise and everything. Like, what did she do to deserve this? And food too, leftovers to take home. Like, surely she's going to take this as a sign and pay it forward, right? She's going to be a good person from now on and not the second in command of the Dark Realm. Oh boy. You know, it's never a good thing when you have to cope about this. Like, you know, just because I got a raise and just because I got good food, I'm not gonna let this get to me. Wow, that's rough. When you have to say it's been so long since I've had meat to eat. Oh boy. So I feel like this whole restoring the Dark Realm is gonna fall by the wayside pretty quickly. You know, it's not like we've seen her actually make any concrete steps towards it, but, uh-oh. Is this a home invader or something? Oh. Oh, it's worse than a home invader, it's the landlord. Oh, what the hell? I like Jahy now. It's like, no, I'm not gonna pay rent. You keep coming to me month after month. I'm not paying you now. I'm not paying you ever. Oh, boy. Man, imagine... Oh, sisters, the boss and the landlord. Oh, that's interesting. So it seems like the two sisters are opposites. Oh, Jahy's playing a dangerous game. Like, who would voluntarily live here? Oh, I guess you don't want to. Get out then. Like, man. She just folds immediately under a thread. Like, okay, I'll pay rent. I'll pay. Oh my god. Just like, how do I get by without paying the rent? What a schemer. Jahy is such a rat. The landlord should whip her, honestly. Just flog her. Oh boy. You know, I feel like with people like Jahy in this situation, like, you need to escalate the situation. Yeah, see, this is the karma I feel is most appropriate for Jahy, you know? Having to rent under A stern landlord. Ooh, no sympathy for you and your stupid sob story. Oh, here we go. This is what I want. If Jahy's going to initiate violence, just enjoy this submission hold. Man, even in the face of this, she's still refusing to pay rent. Like, that's remarkable because this is painful, you know? Like, this is something that actually hurts a lot. And even now, she's focusing all her effort on scheming and trying to worm her way out. Oh, that's evil. Saying, oh, boss, help me, help me. Like, what a rat. You know, I feel like the landlord should reckon that after Jahy bolted last month, she might do the same thing again. And, you know, how hard is it to catch, like, a really short person wearing flip-flops, you know? I feel like that's not a person who can outrun you for any long period of time. Ooh. You know, it's never good when you're arguing with the landlord and you start throwing out pejoratives like that. Like, that's a good way to get beaten. And speaking of getting beaten, I don't think the boss is going to be too happy about their little escapades in public. Ooh. You know, something tells me, whoa. Wow, the boss is being reasonable. I thought she was gonna, like, slap them both over the head. Man, like, even as she's instructed to pay by the boss, Jahy still clutches to her paycheck greedily. Honestly, I think Jahy should be strung up from the clothesline and, like, whacked with a stick. Like, maybe just, like, one good swing. Especially now. You know, she's saying, like, I'm definitely not gonna pay next month. Like, she's learned nothing. What a rat. Ooh. This is perhaps the biggest problem that could have occurred. You know, Jahy has lost her one and only mana crystal, and therefore, I mean, she can't work. And I guess, beyond that, you know, it causes supreme bad luck if a human were to have it. You know, something tells me this might have been true of, like, the big crystal, but maybe she's exaggerating here a little bit. Because, like, if that little mana crystal is limited in scope and the only thing it can do is transform her, like, surely it's not going to cause aliens to descend or a volcano to erupt or anything like that, right? Man, imagine being rude to the boss who, you know, pulled your bacon out of the fire with rent. You know, I can understand Jahy not wanting help and being reluctant to ask for it, but, you know, in a situation like this... Oh, okay. So it's just that simple. The boss found it and picked it up and put it on. And just, you know, gives it back. Without argument or anything like that. So I guess the question is, were there any ill consequences, or are those going to happen? Ooh. So it seems like we're really building up to, like, something horrible is about to happen to the boss, but, I don't know. You know, it really doesn't seem like this thing would cause profound natural disasters. Oh, it's the mana crystal's fault my shoulders are sore. Like, I can think of two big reasons to the contrary. Man, so it's like, you know, why didn't your house burn down? Why haven't you been stricken with the mysterious illness? It's like, oh, well, I lost the remote control. Wow. This really, bodes poorly for the potency of Jahy's mana crystal. And I guess, by extension, it bodes poorly for the reconstruction of the Dark Realm. Like, if the one small, single solitary piece she has is so inconsequential, then, the Dark Realm's as good as finished forever. Now, I guess the question is, they're talking about how important the crystal is. How did she lose it in the first place? I feel like... Oh, there could only have been one time, because she took it off briefly in the break room. Did she just, drop it when she started threatening her boss with the fork? Oh, there we go, yeah. So I guess she just, completely forgot about it. She just set it down and didn't pick it up. Although I feel like, those were extenuating circumstances. She wouldn't normally be so clumsy, but, the transformation ran out and all that. It is interesting that the boss isn't saying anything about her outfit, because, I feel like it would be worth mentioning, even just in passing. Wow. Even after all the help and everything, Jahy's just like, nope, I'm not gonna thank you. You're gonna suffer eventually, so watch out. Man. What a rat. Oh. Yeah, okay, there's the real misfortune, I guess. I don't blame her for not wanting to bring that up. Alright, so I guess for the time being, crisis averted. The mana crystal was found and the status quo resumes. Ooh, you know what? Mr. Narrator is right here. Jahy's all happy about finding her mana crystal, but little does she realize she's just back to square one. She was in negative territory up until now. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.